After years of believing my husband was my soulmate, he dropped the bombshell that he's in love with my best friend, right before I could share my plans to renew our vows and start fresh together. The soft glow of candles flickered on the dining table, their light dancing across the faces of the man I thought was my soulmate and my best friend. The wine in my glass trembled slightly as I set it down, my heart thudding in excitement. Tonight was the night I'd tell him. After years of ups and downs, fighting, healing, rebuilding, I'd decided it was time to renew our vows. To start fresh. The idea had come to me months ago, during a particularly tender moment. As we sat on the couch one evening, his hand brushing mine, I thought, we made it through so much. He's my person, no matter what. That's why I'd been secretly planning this romantic dinner as the perfect setup to tell him. Emma, he said suddenly, his voice pulling me back to the present. His tone wasn't soft or loving, though, it was sharp, clipped. It made my heart skip for a different reason entirely. Yes? I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a deep breath, his fingers fidgeting with the edge of the napkin in his lap. I have something I need to say. Something I should have said a long time ago. I leaned forward, the excitement and nerves bubbling inside me. Was he about to confess that he'd felt the same way, that he'd been thinking about how to recommit to us, too? But his next words shattered me. I'm in love with someone else. The room spun. My ears rang. What? I stammered, my voice barely audible. He looked at me, and for the first time in years, I saw no warmth in his eyes. Just a cold, calculated determination. I've been in love with her for a while now. I can't keep living this lie, Emma. It's not fair to either of us. I swallowed hard, my mind racing to make sense of his words. Who? I whispered, though deep down, I already knew. His silence was deafening. He didn't have to say her name. But then he did. Sophie, he admitted, his voice cracking slightly, as if he were the one who had the right to feel emotional. I recoiled as if I'd been struck. Sophie. My best friend. My maid of honor. The woman who had held my hand through every difficult moment of my marriage. Her. She understands me, he continued, oblivious to the storm building behind my trembling hands. She sees the real me, Emma. The person I've felt like I had to hide from you all these years. My blood boiled. Hide? What the hell are you talking about, Andrew? You've never hidden anything from me, because I've always given you everything. Everything. My voice cracked as tears streamed down my cheeks. He flinched but pressed on. Emma, you've always tried to fix things. Fix me. But Sophie, she doesn't want to fix me. She just loves me as I am. I pushed my chair back so hard it screeched against the hardwood floor. How dare you, I hissed. How dare you say that to me after everything I've sacrificed for you? After everything we've been through together. I thought we were finally in a good place, Andrew. I was planning to renew our vows, to show you that I still believed in us. And now you're telling me you've been sneaking around with her? He stood too, his face a mix of guilt and frustration. It wasn't sneaking around, he said defensively. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to, but I couldn't stop it. It just happened? Are you even listening to yourself? I spat. My hands were trembling so violently I had to clutch the back of my chair for support. How long? What? How long have you been in love with her, Andrew? I demanded. He hesitated, his eyes darting to the floor. That's what I thought, I said bitterly. It's been going on for years, hasn't it? All those times you said you were working late or going to the gym, I bet you were with her. She didn't plan for this either, he said, as if that made it any better. We didn't mean to hurt you. I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Oh, spare me the noble act. You didn't mean to hurt me? Then what exactly did you think would happen, Andrew? That I'd just step aside and hand you over to her with a smile? His jaw tightened. Emma, this isn't about you or Sophie being bad people. It's about me realizing I can't stay in a marriage where I'm not happy anymore. Happy? I shouted, the word echoing in the otherwise silent house. You think I've been happy, Andrew? You think rebuilding this marriage after everything you put me through was easy for me? But I stayed. I fought for us. Because I believed in you. In us. And I'm telling you, it's not working anymore, he said, his voice soft but firm. I'm sorry, Emma. But I'm in love with Sophie, and I'm leaving. For a moment, I could only stare at him, my vision blurred by tears. He had said the words so calmly, as if he were announcing that he was going to pick up milk from the store. Finally, I found my voice, though it was barely a whisper. Does she know? Does Sophie know you're telling me this tonight? She does, he admitted, avoiding my gaze. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. Sophie had known. She had known this was coming and still smiled in my face, still texted me pictures of her dogs and asked about my day as if nothing was wrong. I trusted you, I choked out. I trusted her. You were both my whole world, and now, my voice trailed off as a sob racked my chest. Andrew stepped closer, as if to comfort me, but I held up a hand to stop him. Don't. Don't you dare touch me. I'm sorry, he said again, and I could tell he meant it. But sorry wasn't enough. It would never be enough. I want you out of this house, I said, my voice trembling but resolute. Pack your things and leave. Tonight. He nodded, his expression grim. I'll stay at a hotel until I can figure something. I didn't respond. I couldn't. The room felt suffocating, and every breath I took felt like it was filled with glass shards. I just stared at him, as if he might somehow disappear into thin air and make this all a bad dream. He stood awkwardly, his eyes darting around the room like he was unsure of what to do next. I knew I should have said something. Told him to leave, told him to never come back, but the words were stuck in my throat. Finally, I found my voice. I want you gone by morning, Andrew. No goodbyes. No explanations. Just gone. His face faltered for a split second, but he quickly regained his composure. Emma, please. No, I cut him off, shaking my head violently. Don't say another word. I'm done listening to you. You've been lying to me for so long, and now you expect me to just accept this? I'm not stupid, Andrew. I know exactly what's been happening. Don't you dare try to spin this as some tragic love story. I never meant to hurt you, he muttered, but his voice had no conviction behind it. I stood up, my hands trembling with rage. You never meant to hurt me? You didn't mean to fall in love with her, but you did anyway. You didn't mean to betray me, but you did anyway. And now you want me to feel sorry for you? He looked like he wanted to respond, but the words failed him. He just stood there, his eyes filled with a mix of guilt and frustration, like he wasn't sure if he was more sorry for me or for himself. I couldn't look at him anymore. I turned away, my back to him as I walked toward the window. Outside, the night was quiet, but in my mind, the storm was raging. I could still feel the heat of the betrayal, like a fire smoldering in my chest. I heard him shift behind me, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood. I'll leave tonight. I'll pack my things. No, I said, not turning around. I'll pack your things for you. His footsteps stopped. Emma, please, I don't want this to end like this. We've been through so much. I whipped around to face him. We've been through so much? You mean I have been through so much? I've spent years trying to make this work. I sacrificed so much for this marriage, my career, my time, my energy, and for what? For you to destroy it with her? He opened his mouth to argue, but I didn't let him. I gave you everything, Andrew, I continued, my voice shaking with a mixture of grief and anger. I was there for you when you needed me, when things got hard. I stood by your side when no one else would. And this is how you repay me? By falling in love with her? I never meant for this to happen, he said again, more quietly this time. It's just, we drifted apart. We were living different lives, and Sophie and I. Stop. My voice was low, deadly calm now. You don't get to justify this. You don't get to blame me for your mistakes. You were the one who chose to be with her. You were the one who lied to me, every single day. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself, but the anger inside me was unstoppable. Tell me, Andrew, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. How long has this been going on? How many months have I been living in the lie you built? How many times did you kiss her when you were supposed to be kissing me? How many times did you whisper I love you to her instead of me? His face turned pale, and I saw a flicker of shame cross his features. I never meant for you to find out like this. I never wanted to hurt you, Emma. Well, you did, I said, my eyes burning with tears that I refused to let fall. You hurt me more than I could ever imagine. And now you want to leave, just like that? Like it's no big deal? Emma. No, I cut him off again, raising a hand to stop him. I've heard enough. You've said enough. You're leaving. Now. He stood there for a moment longer, as if he were weighing his options, as if he thought there was still a chance to fix things. But there wasn't. There was no fixing this. There was no going back to the life we had. Finally, he let out a long, exhausted sigh. I'll go then. I'll get my things and leave. I nodded stiffly, my arms crossed tightly over my chest. Good. Don't come back. With that, he turned and walked toward the door, his footsteps heavy and reluctant. But he didn't look back. I didn't watch him leave. Instead, I walked to the kitchen, opening the drawer where we kept the silverware. I needed something to distract me, anything to block out the image of him walking out of the house, out of my life. But as I stood there, my hand gripping the edge of the counter, the tears finally came. They came like a flood, spilling from my eyes and soaking my cheeks. The pain, the betrayal, it was all too much. I sank to the floor, my body racked with sobs. The life I thought I had, the love I thought was real, it was all a lie. And I was left to pick up the pieces. But even through the tears, one thought kept creeping into my mind, refusing to leave me. I will never let him do this to me again. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something other than despair. I felt a spark of determination, a fire that would not be easily extinguished. Andrew had left, but I was still here. And I would rebuild.